Women love to talk about their vaginas once they get started, and before I knew it, I was kind of overwhelmed with vagina stories. It was just this, and then one day, I talked to a woman who was in her 70s, and she told me that when she was a little girl, well, she was a teenager, she went out with a boy, and she had this very disturbing experience where he made fun of her, and she never had sex again. And I was so disturbed by this, that I went home and I wrote The Flood, the monologue The Flood, because I just couldn't believe a woman had one bad experience and then never had pleasure for the rest of her life. And that was really the beginning, and then one thing led to another, and led to another, and led to another, and eventually I wrote a play.
60s into the 70s, I did Death of a Salesman, not as a full-scale production, but as a reading. So people were holding books, but they were moving around on the stage and all that. And it was greatly appreciated because Arthur Miller is one of the pillars of not only American drama but of world drama. He, together with Tennessee Williams, another American, are considered absolutely the icons of world drama, certainly in the 20th century.
We did plays by Arthur Miller, we did plays by Tennessee Williams, we did plays by Edward Albee, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. They were all done at Inherit the Wind, which my son then did many years later at Xavier's. But all these were, I was introduced to them, and so were a lot of Bombay people, introduced to these things at the USIs. And that little theatre was like home for us.
The first time I remember, I was in college. I went to St. Xavier's College, and the wonderful thing about the US Center at that time was they were very into music, and they used to have jazz on Sunday morning, I remember. It was not in the premises they are now, it was a little outside on Queens Road, in fact. And we used to go there, and then there was always someone knowledgeable who would tell us about jazz. That's where I learned about Louis Armstrong and Benny Goodman and all the great jazz musicians. And in fact, it was there, I think, that the springboard for Jazz Yatra was born.
So I suggested, why don't we do a workshop over there, a jazz workshop, so then we get students coming in and we talk to them about jazz and we demonstrate how jazz is played and what is jazz all about and how closely jazz is related to Indian classical music. I was very keen to put that point across, and they liked the idea. Sometime in the 90s that I did this workshop, and it went on for 2 years actually, and the workshop always culminated in an annual concert.